You've gone after former President Bill Clinton for his infidelity. Are your own personal indiscretions fair game in this campaign?
Yes, they would be. And frankly, Hillary brought up the whole thing with sexist. And all I did is reverse it on her because she's got a major problem. Happens to be right in her house. So if she wants to do that, we're going to go right after the president, the ex-president, and we'll see how it all comes out. And I feel very confident that it'll come out very well for us. I will say this, the last person that Hillary wants to run against is me. And you saw the polls come out today where I'm beating her or tied with her at worst. And we're doing very well. We're doing very well in all of the polls. We're really doing very well in Iowa. And you see that. They don't report that. I mean, the CNN poll, I'm up by 13 points in Iowa. We're at 33 versus 20, Cruz being at second. And we're doing really well, and we're doing very well in the Iowa polls.
Do you run a risk, though, already, like running a general campaign against Hillary when not one vote's been cast in the primary yet?
Well, in the Democratic debate, they mentioned my name 9 times. They didn't mention anybody else's name. So I really felt I had to respond because, you know, they're mentioning my names during this debate, and they're not mentioning anybody else. So all I did really was respond.
You invited the Clintons to your wedding in 2005, but it's not as big of a deal for discretion.
Well, you know, it's very important to understand that one of the magazines recently said Donald Trump's a world-class businessman, and I am. I've made a tremendous amount of money. I built a great, great company, and that's one of the reasons I'm doing this, because we need this kind of thinking when we have 19 trillion in debt and all of the problems that we have. But as a world-class businessman, and as, frankly, a businessman, you have to get along with everybody. You want Democrats, you want liberals, you want Republicans, you want conservatives. And I owed it to myself, I owed it to my family, to my company, to my employees, to get along with everybody. And I always have gotten along with everybody.
Were you concerned about having a guy that was, you call abusive around people at your wedding with?
No, I think it's fine. I mean, I want to get along with everybody. As a businessman, I want to get along with everybody. As a politician, frankly, you know, in Washington, we have gridlock. And it would be really nice if Obama could get the Republicans, the Democrats together and get something done. It's total gridlock. They don't get along. They don't like each other. The whole thing is ridiculous. But as a businessman, especially as a really successful businessman, it was my obligation to really get along with people. That's Democrats, Republicans, everybody. And that's what I did. I'm a conservative Republican, and in many ways I'm very conservative. But I had an obligation to my company and to my employees and to my family to get along. So I was able to get along with Clinton. I was able to get along with virtually every politician you can imagine. And when I went to Washington and when I needed something, I got it.
On that topic of Iowa, which is a heavy use, he does come back with the evangelical community. The past winner of Iowa, Santorum, and Huckabee, people say that he would be in favor. Bill Kristol on ABC this week said that if he lose Iowa, then the steep will disappear. What happens on February 2nd to your campaign if you lose Iowa? Is that something you're even concerned with?
Well, first of all, I think we're doing really well as, you know, as a candidate. We're doing really, really well with the evangelicals. And if you look at the numbers, I'm really at the top or close to the top with evangelicals. I've developed an amazing relationship. And, you know, I'm a Protestant. I'm a Presbyterian to be exact. I've gone through the whole thing. I mean, my relationship right now with evangelicals and always has been outstanding. So I don't know who's leading with evangelicals. I just saw a poll coming out where I'm leading with evangelicals. I'm doing very well with the Tea Party. And I'm doing very well in the Iowa. You know, if you look at Iowa and look at CNN, which is a recent poll and a very big one, I'm at 33 and Cruz is at 20. So I don't know how I'm going to do, but I think I'm going to do very well in Iowa.
You know, there's a... Should you take the nomination? Do you see anyone among that field that would be attracted by that?
It's possible. It's really possible. I mean, I've respected a number of them. I'm not going to say every one of them, and some more than others. But I have great respect for a number of the candidates that I'm running against.
You have been in both worlds. You have been in the entertainment world. You've been in the political world. How much entertainment is there in the political world? How much of it is the show?
Such an interesting question. I guess you heard that question. You've been in the entertainment world, and I've been in the business world, and I've been in this. And it's a lot of it can be applied. I mean, frankly, whether it's business or entertainment or politics, you know, a lot of it can be applied. It's been an amazing period of time. I've really enjoyed this. We've had just incredible results. The relationships I've developed in Iowa have been incredible, and New Hampshire and South Carolina, and Virginia and Texas. I mean, all over. I'm leading in the Florida polls against two people that one's a governor and one's a senator, a sitting senator, and I'm leading substantially in Florida. We're leading in Ohio against the sitting governor. We've had an amazing period of time. Now we start the process February 1st, a big date. And I think we're going to do really, really well in Iowa.
Can you talk a little bit about your Get Out the Vote campaign and how you're going to ensure that people who are supporting you at rallies are going to be out there on caucus day, on primary day?
Well, as you know, and even if you look tonight, despite the bad weather, the place is packed. They just had it on television. They were showing it's packed. And we get by far the biggest crowds. Now, the question is, will they show up for caucus? I think the answer is yes. As you know, we have Sam Clovis and we have Chuck Lautner, and they have some incredible people under them. But, we're going to see what happens on February 1st. People want to see our country become great again. We are a country that is troubled, seriously troubled. And we have nothing but losses. We don't win with ISIS. We don't win with health care. Obamacare is a disaster. The rates are going up 25, 35, 45%. Virtually every year. It's a catastrophe. We don't win with anything. We don't win at the border, where people are just flowing across into our country. And I really think I actually think all of those people, and maybe even friends of theirs that weren't at the rallies or the speeches, I really think they're going to come out and they're going to caucus. And we're going to have a very good victory, but, we're going to have to see.
How much are you going to spend on the campaign?
I'm working. And during the month...
spending?
Yeah.
How much campaign? It's going toward $2 million.
So I'll be spending a minimum of $2 million a week and perhaps substantially more than that.
Jeb has spent $40 million, and you get...
No, he hasn't spent $40 million. He's wasted $40 million. There's a big difference.
So why is it any different for you?
Jeb has wasted $40 million.
What are your ads look like?
Every week in Iowa leading up to February 1st?
So I'm going to be doing big ads in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and they're going to be very substantial, and I think they're very well done. I've seen the first 2 or 3 of them. We're very proud of them. We're going to be talking about a lot of things, including the border, including trade, including ISIS and security for the country. We're going to be talking about a lot of things in these commercials.
Will they be attack ads?
Well, I don't think I need to spend the money, because if you look at the polls, as you probably just saw 20 minutes ago, Reuters came out, and I'm close to 40. And second, I believe, is 13, which is a big gap. I don't think I need to spend anything, and I'm very proud of the fact that I've spent the least and I have the best result. In other words, I spent here, if you look at a guy like Bush, he actually spent $59 million, and he's nowhere. And others likewise, they've spent millions of dollars and they're nowhere. So I'm proud of the fact that I can spend the least. That's what the country needs. That's the kind of attitude and thought process that the country needs. Spend the least and be the best. In education, we spend more than any other country in the world per pupil by a lot. And we're 28th. That's the opposite of my campaign. So, I'm very proud of the fact. But now I'm going to spend anyway. I don't know that I need to. When I see a 40 and I see a 12 or a 13 a second, there's no reason to spend, but I feel I should spend. And honestly, I don't want to take any chances. We're doing so well in Iowa. We're doing so well in New Hampshire. We're doing so well in South Carolina. In Nevada, the poll came out today. It was beyond. I mean, it was 38 or 39, and everybody else is very low. But I feel I have an obligation, even to myself and to the country, to spend. And so we're going to be spending a minimum of $2 million for the first, and then we'll see what happens. And if anybody goes after me, I will spend a lot of money against the people that go after me.
Any attack ads going against Cruz or anybody?
Well, I'm just saying, if somebody attacks me, I will attack them very much and very hard in terms of ads. So you got to understand, I'm $35 million under budget. I thought as of January 1st, I would have spent $35 million on ads. I spent nothing. So I'm $35 million under budget, which is a good feeling. I love to build. When I build, I like to build under budget. When we fix the infrastructure of our country, I want that to be under budget. And it's going to come in under budget because we have people that don't know what they do. We have politicians. So we're going to fix the infrastructure, and it's going to be done at a reasonable cost, not a cost where they have 25 times overruns. We're projects that start out at X. Some of them cost 20 and 25 times what they were supposed to cost. That's gross incompetence or theft or dishonesty or something. But I look at some of these projects that start off as little projects, and they end up being disasters. We're going to end all of them.
You mentioned ISIS a minute ago. The shooter in San Bernardino was
a radicalized American.
Correct.
You've said momentarily keep the Muslims from entering the United States. That said, would you suspend any other constitutional rights for Muslim Americans, such as gun ownership, anything like that?
I would look very seriously at the people that are here that are becoming radicalized. I mean, they're using our internet systems better than we do, and we're the ones that invented it. And I'd certainly get all of the geniuses from Silicon Valley together, and we will put a stop to a lot of the things that are going on, where these young, impressionable people, in many cases children, are becoming radicalized. As far as that couple, that horrible couple that killed 14 people with more to come because you have some very seriously wounded that maybe won't make it, from what I understand, we have to have people turn them in. People knew they had pipe bombs all over their floor. I mean, they had like 20 pipe bombs all over the apartment. People saw it. Why didn't they turn them in? They should have turned them in. There's something wrong, and something's going wrong big league, and we're going to get to the bottom.